Alright, so this is our last episode?
Yes.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Cole Young. With us again, we have moderator Leonard Berry. Thanks for being here, Leonard. And we have Adam Christensen to join me again and talking about sports.
Feels like I never left.
Feels like you never left. We're right back into it.
Feels like I never left either. I'm excited.
That's true.
Excited to get it going. Let's get right into it, guys.
Sounds good.
So our first topic of the day, CC Sabathia, 3,000 strikeouts. We'll have 2 minutes to discuss about kind of his career.
Yeah, great career, man. Started out, came onto the scene with the Indians, and looked dominant. He had one of those fastballs that, like, it was almost appointment viewing when he would pitch, you know, in those first couple of years, because you wanted to see how he would just blow pitches by batters. And later in his career, developed pretty good breaking ball pitches. Wow, that was breaking ball pitches. and he's been able to extend his career by kind of changing up his approach at the mound and everything, which is admirable to see.
And obviously it's worked. 3,000 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's the 17th pitcher ever to do this, and only the third left-hander. So do you think this will give him a Hall of Fame bid?
I think so. I mean, it's one of those things like longevity over like a shorter stint of being good. I mean, it's tough to remember how good he was in those last couple years with the Indians and those first couple years with the Yankees. But he was one of the best pitchers in baseball for a pretty long time. And I think that in the end, with this back half of his career that he's had, where he's still been an above-average pitcher for the most part, I do think that'll eventually get him into the Hall of Fame. I mean, 17 players that have only had every 3K strikeouts, it's almost going to have to at that point.
I'll throw some numbers at you guys, too. So 19 seasons in the MLB, 247 wins, which is a 62% win percentage, career ERA of 3.69, 2007 AL Cy Young, only a 6-time All-Star, and a 2009 World Series champion. The resume speaks for itself, but it also might not be enough to get him over the hump. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, like you said, that just like above 3.0 ERA, that's pretty good for a 19-year career. I mean, like, what a rubber arm. That's almost like Bartolo Colon length at this point. Like, too bad we didn't get him in the National League, like, hitting that much, because I would have loved to see CC Sabathia around the bases.
6'6", 300 pounds, just hitting bombs.
You know he would hit a couple home runs.
If he makes contact, I think he's gone.
That's all he needs to do. So, but I do think eventually, definitely not like first, second, third ballot, but I do think eventually he will get in towards the end of his little eligibility window.
What I think is crazy too is, like you said, 17th pitcher ever to get 3,000. The next closest is Justin Verlander, and he's 241 away.
Yeah.
So he's got some working to do.
He might not even make it to that.
He might not. Yeah.
Justin Verlander is on the end of his career.
It's a huge achievement. So I guess we'll see if he makes it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We'll move on to our next topic, Leonard.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So we'll talk about the University of Arizona assistant coach. The wiretapping comes out that they were paying DeAndre $8,000 and $10,000 a month. We'll have 3 minutes to talk about this. Obviously, not the first time this has happened in basketball, and it seems like they're trying to make it the last.
Yeah, it's just, you always hear about this. It never goes away. And obviously it's, way more predominant in sports. If you look at USC with Reggie Bush, and he had to give up his Heisman Trophy. But even outside of that, again, USC, people are, paying the school to get their kids in. There's so much going wrong in the NCAA, and it's raised the question, how do you stop this, or will it ever stop?
Pay them. Just pay them. Like, that's how you stop this. Like, you just make it above board and make sure that it's allowed to be known about. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, everybody knows that the crazy part about this whole thing is that there are players that didn't go to these schools that are on, like, these coaches are on record saying that we got to pay these guys. So what happened to the other schools? Are we supposed to believe that Zion just he changed his heart? He's like, I'm going to go play for Duke because it's the best program. Like, yeah, it is the best program, but you also got somebody offering you probably for Zion at least $12K a month. Like, how are you going to turn that down? It just make it above board, make it legal, and pay them so you can put it into trust. Maybe they don't get the money right away, but you can get the money after you graduate or after you finish your career. Like, just do something so where this stuff doesn't have to happen under the table.
And it keeps happening, and it's obviously, breaking all the rules and everything, but you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, you don't have, the best upbringing, and some coach tells you, I'm going to pay you a lot of money to come to this school. I mean, obviously you have to say no, but you want to say yes. So it's like, it's more so on the coaches, I think, than it is the players, because you're not going to say no to that if you come from basically nothing. But I mean, you bring up the point of paying them, and there's that argument always. Well, their scholarship is their payment, and if you think about it, like USC, it's what, $65,000 a year to go there. Mm-hmm. So if you're getting $240,000 to go to school for 4 years, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot, but they do also. I mean, if you're a high-end athlete, you are bringing in more than $240,000. I mean, you're getting used on, like, I mean, here at Boise State, we have, every year, we have, like, 4 players posted on the side of the stadium, and they don't receive any compensation for that. Whereas if you're a pro athlete, that would probably cost, like, what, $30K to be up on a poster for the whole season? If that, that's probably a low-end number. Like, it just, the whole fact that they don't get to get money for other teams or their team using their likeness in advertising and stuff like that, that's where it gets tough for me. Like, I agree with the scholarship thing. If you're just there to play and go to class and stuff like that, that makes sense. But it just seems to, at this point, that they're bringing in more money than they're getting.
That's true. And if you think about, University of Michigan, their stadium holds 110,000 people. They're coming there they're paying to see these players, and 110,000 people paying $50 for a ticket, that's a lot of money, and those kids are seeing none of it. I mean, yeah, they're getting the equipment, the rooms, the food, all that stuff, but it still raises the question, should athletes be paid in the NCAA?
I mean, I did a report one time for school, too, and even a stadium like Boise State that holds about, I think it's like 30,000 or something like that, they bring in like $3 million in ticket revenue a game. And so, yeah, you have a bunch of overhead costs that goes towards, but you're not telling me, like, a place like Michigan where they're bringing in way more than $3 million a game, like way more than $3 million a game. Their top-end players that are bringing those fans in probably deserve something.
Yeah, and then you factor in, gear sales, all that stuff. And people are buying the jerseys that it's not someone's jersey.
But it has their number on it. It's like so clear.
Coincidentally, the best player always. So there's a lot of weirdness going on in the NCAA, and we got to see how it plays out in the future.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how or
if
that
go.
ever gets resolved.
Where do they go?
Where do they go? Well, for us, we're going to go back to baseball. We'll talk a little Vladimir Guerrero Jr. making his debut. Pretty decent debut. Dad was in the building, made his debut in Toronto, so in Canada, just like his dad. We got 2 minutes on that.
Well, I'll start by saying, when I was playing Little League Baseball, I was number 27 because I love Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah, but he was just the best.
Like, I feel like every kid growing up loved him, especially
in SoCal.
Everybody loved it. But, I mean, it's crazy to see. He is a carbon copy of his dad. Their swings are just identical, and it's watching the side-by-side, it blows my mind. They're the same person.
And I even saw him swing at a couple balls that were bouncing in the dirt, and that really brought me back. Like, I was hoping he would just tee off on one of those and it would go long. That'd be great. Maybe one day he will, but you mentioned it. He swings so hard. Like, he probably swings the hardest that we've seen since Vlad.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and when he makes a connection, that sound of the bat is, like, why people love watching baseball live. Like, hearing that ball pop off that bat and going 450 feet, it's a great feeling. It's great. I hope he does well. I really hope he does well.
And you mentioned he hits hard. One of his grounders in his debut, they clocked it. It was 107 miles per hour. Can you imagine playing shortstop and a 107 mile per hour ball is bouncing towards you?
I feel like it'd break your hand.
Right?
Like,
hit you in the chest, that's breaking your sternum.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just that's like one of those ones that literally you just sidestep and just hope you can get it on the bounce or something like that.
That's the left fielder's job.
Avoid this one. It's a single. Who cares? He hits the ball so hard. Making pitchers probably shaking their boots a little bit in the few years when he actually gets used to that major league pitching. He's going to be a sight to see.
And in his debut, he went 1 for 4, which is pretty good.
Almost hit a home run.
Almost hit a home run. And there was a lot of notes on how good he looked at third base. They said even for someone with that size, he had good footwork, he had good hands, and he had a good arm. So even on defense, he's going to be a factor.
He can throw the ball for sure. He can. He plays pretty good defense, and man, he came out to Old Town Road. He's doing it for the culture. That's what's great about it.
When you come out to that, you're succeeding.
Yeah,
it's out of the culture.
I love to see a player who's tapped into what's happening in larger sports culture and stuff like that, and just in around people our age. So it's fun to see him embrace that. It looks like he loves to have fun, just like Vlad did.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see his personality kind of come to the forefront a little more in these next couple of years.
It was interesting. I was reading this article too. It was all the people that have been in these organizations for so long, and they were saying how crazy it was to see him as a 9-10-year-old kid, and now they're still there, and he's 20 years old hitting bombs just like his dad did. So.
Yeah, it's great to see.
First swing in BP off the glass there at Rogers Stadium. I mean, he's gonna hit a
500-footer.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
at least, that's where we're talking. Like 500 is just the baseline. But we'll move on. We'll talk a little bit of horse racing, the Kentucky Derby.
Mixing things up.
Coming up. Yeah, mixing things up indeed. Not a sport that really gets covered on talk shows, but we'll cover it for at least a minute here. talk about some horse racing and the favorite with a little bit of issues, Adam.
Yeah, he has a swollen epiglottis. You can look that one up at home. Yeah, and I guess that makes it harder to breathe for the horses, which makes sense. You know, they run a long ways, you're going to want to breathe a little bit. But so I guess that makes the field a little wide open. I don't know a whole lot about horse racing. I'll probably turn on for the Derby for like 2 minutes, you know, watch the race, see who wins a bunch of money. And that'll be the horse racing I probably watch for the rest of the year.
For the next couple of years, truthfully. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd be more invested if I had money on it and if I was there. It seems like such a fun environment to be sitting there betting. You know, you're dressed nice, you're drinking wine, you're having fun. So I think being there would be something that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, being around that atmosphere, and it's always better to watch races of any kind live, like NASCAR, Indy, and horse racing. It's always better when you're there. You can put some low-level bets on there and just have fun. Be with your friends, get some drinks flowing. It looks like a good time. I am a little envious of the party in the infield. It looks like a fun time.
Oh yeah. Well, and for the Derby too, it seems like it's almost like a status thing. There's always celebrities. There's always pro athletes. There's so many people there. So seems like it would just be a big party while you're watching horses run.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you hear players talk about like 6 months later, like, oh, I met him at the Derby. I met this other player from this other sport at the Derby. Like it's just one of those things that everybody goes to have fun.
And they just make unlikely friendships.
Yeah,
seems like a fun place.
It does. Yeah, one day we'll make it.
It's just like a staple of like American culture at this point.
Oh yeah,
If you're at the Derby, you're somebody.
Yeah,
you are somebody if you're at the Kentucky Derby. Maybe not so much if you watch it at home, but still, it's coming up this weekend. Meanwhile, moving into our last topic, which is the unfazable Vince Carter, who refuses to give up his dream of playing in the NBA. We'll talk about it for 2 minutes. He played for the Hawks last season. That was his 8th different team now that he's played for in the NBA over a 22-season career at 42 years old.
Well, I saw an article today. They called him immortal. Yeah. I think it fits. I mean,
hard to disagree with that.
He's 42 years old. This is his record-breaking 22nd season. He's been an All-Star 8 times. Like you said, he's played for 8 different teams. It's incredible. He's still going. I mean, this season, not so great. He had a 42 shooting percentage, not great, and only averaged 7 points a game. But I mean, if you're coming off the bench and doing that, that's a support role, and he's still doing it. And he looks like he can move around, not like a 42-year-old.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's like nursing any injuries, long-term injuries or anything like that. It looks like he's coming back full strength. I don't think he would have agreed to come back for next year if he wasn't full strength at the end of this season. That's just not something you want to rehab all off-season. So yeah, I mean, it's fun to see. I mean, I still always think of him in a Toronto Raptors jersey at that dunk contest. Like, it's hard not to.
That purple Raptors jersey.
Yeah, with the elbow in the net. It's that's just one of those like iconic NBA images. It's like the Jordan dunk contest one too, where you're just gonna keep seeing that video probably for the rest of the NBA history, and if not anything else. But yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes. You know, I don't blame a player for wanting to keep playing. I mean, basketball's all he's known for his entire life.
His entire life.
Literally his entire life, and he's 42 now, so it's not easy to give those things up, and so I don't blame him. If he's healthy enough to go, yeah, sure, run it back, go another year.
And if he's healthy and having fun, like you said, why not? But at the same time, a team has to start to question, are they going to use a roster spot for him just because he's Vince Carter? Or are they going to, be like, okay, there's a younger person coming up who's better than him, but it's kind of a dilemma. Like, do I want to get rid of the legend Vince Carter, or do I want a young talent who's going to play for 20 more years?
Yeah, I feel like on a lot of NBA teams, the roster's big enough where if you do have that young talent that you might think is that good, there's other roster spots that you could probably give to him and keep that one for Vince Carter. He's earned the status of like you can play for as long as you want to play.
He's
like,
earned that immortal status.
Yeah, he really has. Like he was just that good for that long. Definitely a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's a doubt about that one. But I like it. I don't want to see a guy give it up if he doesn't want to.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't pull a Brett Favre though.
Yeah.
I think at this point, with being 42 years old, like if he's done, he's gonna be done, and he's not coming back. But he's just a gamer. Like he's someone that loves the game, and he doesn't want to give it up. And I think that's why he keeps coming back.
You can't really blame him for that. Like you said, he's been playing for 22 seasons. That's not including youth basketball, junior high, high school, all that stuff. So when it is your life and it's the only thing you've done since you were 8 years old, it's hard to give up.
Yeah, it seems like he'd be one of those guys on the couch who just like hates watching basketball.
Yeah,
like he wouldn't watch basketball later because he'd get the itch to like go back. He'd be like shooting paper balls into the trash can.
I can still do it. Put me back in.
He'd like cross up his wife every once in a while.
Type of guy who's at 65 years old at 24.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's run it, young guys.
Yeah, he's like they're like on their third game. He's like, run it back, and all the like 24-year-olds like.
Hey, throw him on the Lakers. Maybe we'll do something.
True, man.
All right. Well, I believe believe that was our last topic. So Adam, Leonard, thanks for being here again. Appreciate it. And thanks for watching Down to the Wire. I'm Cole Young, and we'll see you next time.
That's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Good shit.
Oh, man.
Oh, there's gonna be a next time?
I don't know. Eric never gave me the definitive answer. I didn't want to do my goodbye. Just kidding. We have one more.
That would have been a great next opener, though.
Oh, thought you got rid of us? Well, we're back.